Martin Popoff here from the Contrarians. I just wanted to put in a comment on this Aerosmith situation. It's kind of different from most of these, right? We see a lot of our favorite bands where the lead singer just kind of croaks on and slowly ruins their reputation. So what's happening with Aerosmith is there's been a statement that says, we've always wanted to blow your mind when performing. As you know, Steven's voice is an instrument like no other. He has spent months tirelessly working on getting his voice to where it was before his injury. We've seen him struggling despite having the best medical team by his side. Sadly, it is clear that a full recovery from his vocal injury is not possible. We have made a heartbreaking and difficult and necessary decision as a band of brothers to retire from the touring stage. So yeah, this the last performance of Aerosmith, you can actually go see it on YouTube, and it's actually quite a good filming of it. But the last song of the last show was "Walk This Way," September 9th, 2023. So as I'm rambling on right now, it's exactly 11 months later. So yeah, they've tried some rehab and stuff, and basically he can't do it anymore. He can't sing. What is very poetic and cool about this situation, as I mentioned, it's very different from other situations. You know, Steven was in great voice all the time. He's got an incredible, unique voice. He's got an incredible, unique style. He's a great frontman, one of the best. Looks great up there. At 75 years old, he was doing this, and he does not look 75. He was still looking athletic as well. But it's pretty interesting. It's not particularly sad, right? I mean, he's 75 years old. It would be worse if they went off into the night and like so many of our heroes, just singing badly, right? It is what happens. You know, it's funny. I've been seeing a few things on Facebook as well. People say, "Oh, get Jeff Keith from Tesla in there," and then someone else wrote back says, "He ain't singing so great either," right? These days. So no, I mean, there's no point to replace him. He's basically, I think, 58% of the band. I mean, he's a super important part of the band. So I don't think there's any point replacing him. Funny when you contrast this with the Deep Purple situation. You know, I've been reading some things recently saying there's just sort of this loose, not very strong, not very forceful quality to the way Deep Purple is playing live these days and going through a lot of their hit songs. And, you know, Ian, of course, is struggling somewhat, still doing a really good job. But the crazy thing is that makes it so different from Aerosmith is that people are just going crazy over that Equals One album. I love it as well. I didn't do a video on it because I actually interviewed Ian Gillan and Roger Glover for a cover story we did in Goldmine magazine. So you can go over to Goldmine and pick that thing up. But love the album to death. Everybody loves it. It's just, I've seen some dissenting views, but you know, someone made the suggestion on Facebook saying, you know, hearing this thing about Deep Purple seeming like they're struggling live, like all of them. That's the other thing you don't really hear about with these bands. You don't hear about the other members of the bands besides the singers struggling live because obviously we've now seen people starting to use tapes and stuff as well. But somebody put in the comment that, oh, maybe they should just make records, and they've been so prolific and so good at it, and they've got this great new guitarist in Simon McBride. The Aerosmith situation is a funny one where you know, they say retire from touring. That leaves a question whether Steven could sing on a record. But Aerosmith just has not had a good track record of getting together and giving us inspiring music, right? I mean, people did not like music from Another Dimension and Just Push Play. And so, yeah, and they're spread apart by so much time, and there's so much corporateness to them, and ballads and guest stars, and they're long albums, and they're complicated, and they're overproduced. So sadly, this is not a band that feels like your Cheap Trick or your I was going to say King's X, but they've kind of dropped off, you know, in their later years. But Cheap Trick, Uriah Heep certainly, and Deep Purple is probably the crowning example of this. I thought Motorhead was like this in their last years too, where we're getting a bunch of great records from them, you know, at this point. But yeah, so interesting. You can go check that out on YouTube. Last song, Walk This Way, do a good job. You know, I'm not so sure Joe Perry's in the greatest shape either to be, you know, up there performing at his peak anyways, right? And I'm not sure about the other guys. Of course, we lost Joey Kramer as well along the way. But you can see that, and you can also see there's a video on there about the last moments of Aerosmith on stage, which is I guess there was some sort of like a birthday cake presentation, happy birthday to Joe Perry at the show as well. So yeah, September 9th, 2023 might go down as the last show, and this Walk This Way is just really well done. It's really cool. And there's also a little note in there. I didn't go look at it, but the purporting to say that you could see at the 107 mark or something where maybe it's where he injures himself, right? Where, makes it that he can't come back from this thing. But it's interesting that it's been a whole year and they've been trying to fix this thing, and then they're not doing it. So yeah, they called them America's greatest rock and roll band. I thought, that stretch especially rocks, but Toys in the Attic, Draw the Line, even I love A Night in the Ruts. I love Rockin' a Hard Place. Rockin', yeah. And and then they made that amazing, glorious comeback with Permanent Vacation's a great album, Pump's a great album. Maybe it starts going downhill after that, but they're like the crowning example of one of these 70s bands that had this great, the biggest of the second wave revivals. So yeah, they're absolutely one of the great rock institutions. I've never done an Aerosmith book. I've been kind of thinking about it back and forth, maybe one just on all the 70s songs or whatever. I've interviewed the guys maybe up to 10 times over the years. And David Krebs is a good buddy of mine. We talk all the time. In fact, I got to call him back today. So he's told me all sorts of great Aerosmith stories as well. So yeah, maybe we'll do something on Aerosmith at some point, but it literally is one of the last of those 70s bands that I grew up with in a huge way that I've never done anything on. But yeah, so somewhat sad news, poignant news. But the fact of the matter is, I think we should and could appreciate that they're just not going into this long, debacle of a decline that we've seen almost every single one of our other bands do over time. I mean, there's very few that we haven't seen go this route. Another great one that I keep saying is Uriah Heep. I talked about the Uriah Heep records, but I mean the Uriah Heep live too. Scorpions is another good one. Good records, and that last one was really cool, and they are still killing it live. So they're even saying Klaus is having some problems with his voice, but they're still a very athletic band. We know Maiden is doing great as well. So yeah, there are examples out there of bands still kicking it and doing a great job. Priest is doing a good job, right? So yeah, kind of too bad, but there you go. Aerosmith. Basically, Steven Tyler retiring. I don't know if they completely closes the door on their being, these guys just always want to perpetuate and keep on and keep on and keep on. But it sounds like Aerosmith is done. Like I say, there doesn't seem to be a lot of reason to make records with this band. There hasn't been for a lot of years anyways. But there you go. Aerosmith retired in the summer of 2024 officially.